Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back here for day 2 of 15 years of RHAP lore volume 2, as we're talking about some moments of lore that took place in the Middle Ages of Rob Has a Podcast. Specifically, we've got some stories here between 2015 and 2019 that we are about to share here on the podcast. I invited 15-ish personalities to join me to tell their favorite moments of RHAP lore. I gave them no direction. I said, come on and tell the podcast birthday boy some stories, your favorite stories of RHAP lore. And that is exactly what we're doing as we celebrate this week 15 years for the 15th place finisher on Survivor All-Stars, as the anniversary of Rob Has a Podcast, February 12th, 2010, a podcast was born. And so here we are to celebrate. Yesterday, we brought you day 1. That is up in the podcast feed. You can hear that when you're subscribed to the podcast. Go to robhasawebsite.com, or make it even easier, getrhap.com. And with that link, you can subscribe to the podcast. And since you are listening to Rob Has a Podcast, you may already be subscribed to Rob Has a Podcast, but if you get a loved one subscribed this week, we've got a way for you to make it where I can maybe surprise your loved ones with a visit. If you just show us a picture of your loved one getting subscribed to RHAP, you can send that to robhasawebsite.com/loved ones. And with that, let's begin listening to some tales of lore from RHAP. We'll bring in first Dr. Liana Boraas. All right, we are ready to talk about some more lore from the history of RHAP. And with us to do that, a very special guest, Dr. Liana Boraas. Liana, how are you?
I'm doing well, Rob. I'm excited to be here. This has been such a joy to go through memory lane of RHAP.
I know you love lore, often discussed on the brand new Pooya and Liana Lounge, which I'm sure when we do the 20-year anniversary of RHAP, we'll have so many memories from that. But Liana, what did you bring with you for this show and tell?
So I brought News AF.
News AF, okay.
As a concept.
Right, this is a little bit more of like a abstract sort of idea of like something that is now in its 10-year anniversary, News AF.
I know, it's wild. I think about News AF. I mean, so first of all, it also puts my perspective in terms of my life, because News AF was huge when I was doing my PhD in my life personally. I mean, also in general, right? News AF is amazing, but News AF got me through my PhD, and it just did, like, week to week, I think it kept me up to date, of course, with actual factual news, which is the key component here. But I think more importantly, it gave me an opportunity to get to know you, Tyson, and Danny, and your just charisma and the chemistry between all three of you, and weird stories from everyone's history. It's just a wonderful jumping off point for everything for chemistry and news.
Okay, well, that is such a great testament of News AF, and it means so much to me, especially when people say they enjoy News AF, especially when smart people say they like News AF.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I'm here to fact check any stories if you ever need, but I think you guys have it pretty much handled. I think that the tip top news is really the key here, from airplane passengers to, you know, Storm Area 51, of course, all the coverage of Ken Bone. There's just so many really great moments. And I think that's the other thing too that I love about News AF is the running jokes. And maybe that's why it appeals to smart people, right? Because we love callbacks, we love references, we love things that are repeated, whether it's Danny's nicknames, Danny Monday, Skeet Dog, Vascular D, to, you know, new things like Arnazarn Corn or whatever.
That corn, yeah.
Yeah, from all the scams and fun stuff like that. I just think it's really enjoyable to have a moment to pause, to laugh, to catch up on news, to hear the stories of what's going on in everyone's lives. It's very, very fun.
Yeah, well, it's been a wild ride for News AF, born out of Tyson being on marriage boot camp. And we actually just, I did a podcast with Bryce a couple of weeks ago where Bryce was telling me all about the latest goings on with Spencer Pratt and Heidi Montag. And he was explaining it to me, like he was explaining to me like who they are. And at the end of the podcast, I said, Price, I'm going to blow your mind. Like I used to do a podcast with Spencer. And he was like, oh, what? And then, you know, once I had said it, he had some recollection still of it. But then there was, as I told in that story, you know, there was one day, kind of out of the blue, Spencer decided he did not want to do a podcast with me and Tyson anymore. And he basically cut us off. He blocked us. And then we were sort of like, okay, what do we do now? And Tyson said, okay, my friend Danny, he's going to be great. And we tried him out one week and News AF was born.
The transition from the Spice and Hour to News AF was absolutely necessary. And I think that was the interesting thing because I obviously knew you and Tyson from Survivor, but one of the enigmas is Danny really on News AF because he absolutely fascinates me. And I just love hearing all of his stories. I mean, him and Tyson doing the Norway adventure, like even just being able to catch up on that was so fascinating. When Danny had that weird helicopter adventure when he almost died. That was also so fascinating. His hatred of so many different things, especially the holidays, like that really just, that makes me so happy. And so I did pick one specific moment from News AF that I wanted to talk about. And I think because it captures those things, it captures Danny's weirdness and his weird history. It captures the dynamic between the three of you. And it's the episode where, surprisingly enough, you actually didn't talk about news at all. You talked about the movie Kroll.
Yes. Now, Liana, were you a Kroll watcher? Had you had any familiarity with the film?
No, I had seen some movies that from Danny's history, Never Ending Story, Flash Gordon, but Kroll was a new one to me. So I waited with bated breath, listening to everything that happened from the glaive to all the other weird stuff. Look, it didn't 100% stick with me, the plot. I just remember there's lava or something somewhere. He got to stick his hand. A lot of rock climbing was involved.
Right. Is it a young Liam Neeson in that film also?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, because I do remember, I think you make the joke about this being inspired by Star Wars. And then one of the young actors actually goes on to be in Star Wars.
In Star Wars. So Krull is News AF is July 7th, 2020. So yeah, that was a year, you know, the whole 2020, that was a year where we had a lot of News AF to talk about. But I think we said, okay, 1 week, let's just talk about one of Danny's favorite movies that we've referenced a lot. And we watched Krull and then broke it down on the podcast.
It was so fun. I think there's another sort of, well, I guess two honorable mention moments that I also want to give. One is your rant about Judd Apatow not wanting Netflix to have the increased speed.
Too bad, Judd. They got it, and I love it. I love it.
Who won the war? Who won the war here, baby? That always makes me laugh. The other one, news related. We were talking about beets. I don't actually remember the context. The food beets we know and love. But there was about who could eat that many beets, I believe.
Maybe could there be a competition?
And could there be a competition, particularly celebrities? And potentially you could have those celebrities have a beat off, perhaps. Could be the thing that the three of you discuss.
Yes. We did the live News AF, which I think was, I'm trying to remember if that was 2017, where we went in Utah and had the live News AF. And who could forget when News AF 100, when Danny ate the ghost pepper?
Yes, of course. That was a really iconic moment. Again, also just the weird enigma that is Danny because of all of his weird eating habits and his overconsumption of Mountain Dew and sugar and all of that. How it ended up with the ghost pepper of all things was just so fascinating. I think you guys allow yourselves to really go into all the details and explore everything from soup to nuts.
I think that what had happened with the ghost pepper was I think that either me or Tyson said something like that. I don't know how it came up, but hey, I heard that Danny is going to eat a super hot pepper at the live show. And I think it just took on a life of its own. And I think that's really where some of the best running gags come up on News AF.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing that I really appreciate is the running gags. You know, I think you could go back to the sloth terrarium again if you were ever interested.
Mhm.
But it's just such a wonderful, warm part of my life, and I'm very appreciative for News
Yeah,
AF.
that's so nice because sometimes I feel like that. All right, well, I'm like, okay, what podcast, do I need to like, okay, prioritize? But so many people really love News AF, and I love the relationship with Tyson and with Danny, and so that's the thing that keeps me coming back to it. We almost never miss a week. And sometimes it's on a different day of the week. But I don't know if there's ever been a week in the 10-year history of the show where we did not have News AF, whether it was like at the beginning of the week or the end of the week. I think we have like perfect attendance.
It's genuinely amazing. And obviously you have to have some moments where people filled in, Rick Devens, of course, being one of the notable ones.
Yes.
But I mean, in terms of not missing an episode, I mean, even Tyson traveling over, I believe it would have been the summer of 2019 when he didn't miss a single podcast. Also incredibly impressive.
Yeah. Tyson was able to, he had some problems with his internet, but even while somehow appearing on Survivor Winners at War, that we were able to still hear from Tyson.
Yeah, right, dude.
Yeah, it's true.
It's amazing.
Oh, not for me.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciated it, Tyson. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
The one other News AF thing too was when your wives took over the podcast. There was the wife takeover.
Wives of News AF.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I'm sure. I think that was probably also, if not 2020, a 2021 joint when the Oops All Wives episode of News AF. And that was actually a great episode.
It really was. It's weird how you can recreate the dynamic still between the three. It was also fun to just hear your wives rag on you. So I did.
Yeah, that was good. I think that I liked it the most out of the husbands. I think that Tyson liked it the least.
Oh, interesting. Did he feel misrepresented?
I don't know if he felt misrepresented, but I think he felt like, hey, like this is, I was like, great. Like I get a week off from doing News AF. This is perfect. Tyson's like, hey, this is like my time to do News AF.
Yeah, he was just upset he didn't get to talk about Goop.
Yeah.
Or Quibi or something like that.
Probably something from that era for sure. Yeah. But no, it's so much fun. If anybody has never checked out News AF, we do it on Tuesdays. There's a Facebook Group AF. People give us suggestions for all the weird and unusual news that's out there. And we've been covering it all. And Liana, I do think that, we used to back in the day start talking about all these aliens and everything. I feel like it's not even weird news anymore, all these alien and UFO stories.
I know it is tough. Like when you did the drone stories and things like that recently, it's like it's just kind of par for the course now. But what I love also about News AF is that even if there's a couple weeks where I'm super busy, I don't really have time to listen to podcasts, I can always go back and catch up. It's like my warm little, like I said, cozy, fuzzy feeling.
Yes. Okay. And please fact check us if we get any science wrong, Liana.
You got it.
All right. So I know in addition to News AF, that there was another moment from the history of Rob as a podcast that was a real standout moment for you.
Yeah, there was one moment that when it happened, I immediately pulled the clip and saved it on my Google Drive for years. In fact, I still had that clip when I was asked to, come on and reminisce about RHAP. So, Rob, would you like to either set this up or do the honors and just play it?
So this was not a clip that I remembered off the top of my head. A lot of times I have to I have a lot of repressed memories about the podcast where I have no recollection of a thing. And then if we start talking about it, it comes back to me. And so this is a clip, I believe, from when Steven and I used to do the Love Know-It-Alls. We would get relationship advice. And we actually spoke with famed Survivor urologist, Dr. Mike, in this episode.
I believe so, yep.
Okay, all right. And Steven was getting ready to be married, I believe, in the year 2018. Steven, are you getting married on a holiday?
We will be.
You will be getting married on a holiday?
No, it'll be a holiday once we're married on it, right? It'll be our personal holiday. But no.
Okay.
Well, we were very strategic about when got to be strategic in all decisions. June 9th is a day that we thought, it's not close 69.
to any holiday.
What?
So you getting married on 6/9?
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about it.
69!
Wow. Great.
So
Don't make that toast, Robbie. don't stand up and say that.
do you know what
That's what I'm going to do at the wedding.
Yeah.
do you know what the biggest myth about marriage is, Stephen?
69. Yeah. We don't even want to know where Dr. Mike is going with this. But this was a moment that resonated for you so much, Liana, that you saved it.
It really did. And it still makes me laugh. I don't know what it is. It's you laughing. It's you coming in at the end and just interrupting Dr. Mike with another 69. There's just so many wonderful things about the clip. The fact that it's Stephen Fishback of all people who got married on June 9th. Really, amazing.
Yeah,
My
he was not amused at all. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. I feel like in hearing me back, like I feel like I'm quoting something, but I don't know what it is that I'm quoting.
I don't know. I don't know what it was from. And maybe that's why it just stuck in my mind as being something so unique. It's so funny that even, how many years later? 8 years later? No. What years? 7 years later? Still just really
several
makes me laugh.
years. Yeah.
Several, yeah.
Okay. Well, Liana, thank you for taking us down the News AF memory lane. Super fun. Check out the Pooya and Liana Lounge, and of course, Drag Race. We know Drag Race. And Liana, where can people keep up with you?
You can find me on Blue Sky at LianaIsm, or just search for me. But definitely check out the Pooya and Liana Lounge, pooyaandliana.com for all your pal needs.
Okay, I'm gonna live tweet the pal on Blue Sky.
Ooh, okay, I'm excited.
Rather than send you a notes app of my feedback.
Okay, but we do appreciate the feedback. It's a discussion point for us, for sure.
All right, Liana, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. All right, let's bring in a man who do a lot of podcasting with these days, talking about the traders, and he hosts a podcast with his wife. It's Pooya Zamakili. Pooya, how are you?
I am so good, Rob. Happy to be here. Happy 15 years.
Thank you. Yes. So,
of course.
Pooya, excited to take a little bit of a walk back into some podcasting that maybe not everybody had heard, even at the time, because we're talking about some stuff from the Patron 5 for 5, the podcast that I do with my wife, the first lady of podcasting, Nicole Cesternino.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Liana and I have this new project, the Pooya and Liana Lounge. I like to think that we got a lot of inspiration from the 5 for 5. It is, I've heard a lot of podcasters say it's their favorite podcast, and I echo that sentiment. It is, for me, been the number one reason why becoming a patron is vital. There's a lot of perks you get with being a patron, a sea of perks. For me, this is number one.
Well, I feel like that when RHAP is really immersive for the audience, and that's always what my goal is. Like, we watch the shows, we have fun, we talk about the shows, but in getting to know all of the characters, my favorite thing is when RHAP is a reality show. And so we don't always get to that point when we're talking about what's happening, like when we're breaking down an episode. And so one of the things in getting to podcast with your spouse, there are a lot of ways in which that there is automatically a built-in tension that happens from podcasts, because there are stakes where, if you and I are podcasting about the traders and we disagree about what happened, that's not affecting my life outside of, with all due respect, of, what happens on the podcast. But there is sort of like a built-in tension that comes from that. And there's a lot of character that comes from that relationship of two people who are in a unique relationship doing a podcast. And that often plays out on the Patron 5 for 5.
Absolutely. It's like you said, it's one of those things where you are living with this person off mic, and you never know what's going to happen on mic that's going to cause a discussion off mic that you may not have wanted.
Yes. And just the history of podcasting with my wife, that when I started this podcast in 2010, this was the only person I could get to talk to me. And so we started off we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. We had a room where I had like a half working like podcasting microphone and also the microphone from Guitar Hero on PS3. And so if you listen to that first recording that we did, it's a horrible echo chamber that is borderline unlistenable. We've come a long way. But Nicole, in the first couple of years that I was doing the podcast, she was with me for just about everything. There was a point when I wanted to make podcasting into more of a thing. Nicole was like, my life is fine. This is just something I am doing to help out my husband. And I did, basically after the first couple of years of the podcast, Nicole was not a fixture on the Survivor podcast in the way that she was. But after Dominic and Anthony were then born, then we wanted to find some ways to, like, how do I get Nicole back into the podcast? Because Nicole is a real character. And so I think in 2015 or maybe 2016, we started the Patron 5 for 5. The idea was I would answer 5 questions for the $5 patrons. We asked way more than 5 questions. I thought it'd maybe be 5 topics for $5. The name stuck, the concept didn't. And so here we are now, some 300 some odd. Basically, I unlike Liana, I'm not a regular journaler, but I do feel like that if I ever want to go back and write a memoir, I do have like 10 years of my life recorded in weekly installments of what's going on in my world.
That's the beauty of being in this profession, Rob. And I feel similarly is that I'm not like a big selfie taker. I don't document a lot of what I'm doing, but a lot of it is documented because of the shows we're doing. And I think it's very fun. The idea that you have a time capsule with your wife to go back to in the future and look back on the good times and the rough times and a
lot of wild stories and anecdotes from our lives gets captured in this. And so I know you have a favorite of yours that you want to reference.
I hold it very near and dear, Rob. I feel like podcasting with your partner, it allows you both to banter, to have a good time. It allows you to air each other's dirty laundry. And then this specific memory I have is clean laundry, but it's laundry related.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's also just like in doing a podcast with Nicole, like I find that I have a way to talk to her in a way that's like unlike any other conversation that we might otherwise have. Because I feel like that there is an audience and everybody is forced to sort of like be very super respectful and try to be as good of a listener as they can be while they're on a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, you got to maintain that good energy for the pod. Otherwise, it won't work. And I feel like, especially at times, it's kind of like, all right, it's showtime. And then it can get you in that mood. Honestly, Liana and I have had podcasts where we go into it not feeling great. And then when we leave it, because that energy was working, it sticks. And then everything's fine again. We're fine.
Yeah. Or the opposite has also happened where you start good and then, that something happens and then you stop recording like, I didn't like what you said when blah, 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 blah.
You don't bring up my fitness pal, Rob.
I digress. Okay. Yes. All right. Pooya. So, okay. Let's set up the story that you wanted to reference.
Yes. So it's been granted a couple years, but there's been over 300 5 for 5s, but this one sticks in my mind always. And Rob, it has to do with underwear. It has to do with underwear. And basically, you had underwear in your room that did not belong to you. And there was some suspicion of who it belonged to. Yeah.
My wife had said that she had found in my office, and I don't know exactly how this came to be, but in the apartment or the house that we used to live in California, that my like entire RHAP stuff was all upstairs on the second floor, and all the bedrooms and everything else was on the first floor. And that worked out very well for like the boys were little and everything. So everything was on the first floor. So Nicole in my office had ultimately found a pair of black underwear, black women's underwear, and was very upset that she felt like that she had uncovered some evidence that some woman was up in my office, upstairs with me, and had disrobed. Who knows what else happened, but a woman had taken off her underwear in my office.
And left the evidence.
And left the evidence for Detective Nicole had found this pair of underwear. Now, I don't know how exactly she discovered this, and I have to go back and listen to the clip and find out how she found this. But she's upset that she's discovered this. I'm like, I don't know, Nicole. I don't know. I don't know what happened. There was no woman up here. There was nothing about that. You know, there's you're imagining this. I don't know. I can't explain it, but it's not mine.
Did you start racking your brain of like, what is this?
Well, I was like, okay, well, this was when, you know, my mom has visited, her mom has visited. I'm like, I don't know. They'd also, like, my mom had, you know, stayed upstairs slept on the couch upstairs. So I'm like, I don't know. Could it be like, and I didn't like examine. She was very, insulted that my mom does not wear underwear like this. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
You don't want to know. Like, that's really what it is.
So ultimately, we will eventually figure out whose underwear this is.
Yeah, this was not an unsolved mystery. And thankfully, it was caught on tape when the mystery was solved, and it was delightful.
Yes. Okay. Well, how did we ultimately get to the answer?
Well, a plot twist for the ages, Rob. We land on where we began. The person who found the underwear owns this underwear.
Yeah. Nicole at some point realizes that, oh, these underwear are her underwear.
Yeah. How did that make you feel?
I was like, because she was mad for a while about this. And this will it happens a lot of like Nicole has a dream. I'm having an affair and I'm in trouble. It's like, you dreamt, this was all you. You did this. You made this story up. And yeah, I don't think that it was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But yeah, again, I don't have an answer of exactly this is a long time ago. I don't know how these underwear ultimately got upstairs. That I can't tell you. I don't recall. But yeah, this was, classic Nicole. Nicole has some great stories that have really blown the minds of the listeners. I think another similar story in this vein, the spider story, another famous one from the Patron 5 for 5.
The Goofy Gal saga is one near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, but the Goofy Gal is another one that's similar to this, where Denise Stapley's name on like one of the Skype or whatever was Goofy Gal, and I couldn't connect with her by however I was doing the podcast at that time, and so she had called me on an iPad, and then Nicole discovers the iPad and realizes that I am having some kind of communication with Goofy Gal. And this is evidence that I am doing something illicit.
Rob, you just fighting allegations.
Or the time that I went to go to the Survivor Millennials versus Gen X after party and took a picture with Australian Survivor winner Christy Bennett, who called me out for hating her. And then I posted a picture on my Instagram of here I am with my new best friend. And I posted that on my Instagram, come home 2:00 in the morning, to then 3 hours later, Nicole starts screaming, "So, who's your new best friend?" That's a girl from Australian Survivor. I didn't think that she did a good job. Why are you being like this? It's like, oh, you're just posting about your best friend? So, yeah, this is a theme. Nicole, my wife, and look, Pooya, people would know. I've never had an affair, never been caught cheating before, but she is always on the lookout.
Yeah. You will not be able to slip ever. Nicole will be on top of it.
She's always falsely accusing me that she's caught me in this tryst.
And it's fun for us, the viewers, because we know it has a happy ending. Nothing is happening, But it's so funny. It is fun. I mean, obviously not for you in the moment, but as viewers, we're gobbling it up. It's a good time.
Yes, Pooya, we need to get Nicole on the Traders. Nicole would be like the most wrong and confused faithful there might ever be. Or I might be the most wrongfully accused faithful, actually.
If they do a blood versus water and the two of you go there, do you reckon that you'd work together, or will you get accused by Nicole?
I think she might accuse, you know what? There's a lot of evidence that there's one person who's being unfaithful, and that is my husband. I found out. Larsa and Marcus could never.
Yeah, that would be, I'm all in. Sign me up.
Yeah.
No, and Rob, the fact that Nicole started the pod with you, it is such a treat that we get to hear from her as often as we can on the 5 for 5. It is truly a blessing, and I'm so glad we still have that podcast coming.
Well, the other beauty of Nicole's podcasting is that she is the most reluctant podcaster that in the RHAP universe. She does not want to be there. She does not want a podcast. I twist her arm as Nicole, people really like it. People really love to hear from you on the podcast. Oh, fine. She's the only person that's if she never did it again, she would be fine. But I think that's part of the charm there. So thank you, Pooya, for taking us down this walk down memory lane of the 15 for 15.
Yes. Oh, that's a great upgrade. I love that. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Pooya, where can people keep up with you?
Oh, they can find me on all socials at Pooyaism, twitch.tv/Pooya. That's where I am when I'm not podcasting. And for right now, as Rob said, we're chopping it up with the Traders, but also check out the Pooya and Liana Lounge for me and Liana every week talking about our lives and a bunch of random stuff that goes on there.
For more married banter with stakes, check out the Pooya and Liana Lounge. Okay, Pooya, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Of course. Take care.
All right, I'm hoping that the next guest who comes in isn't coming on to talk about a time when I was a dummy, as she talks about many of them on islands, also one half of the mess magnets. Maybe she's going to talk about some mess. Here is Kirsten McKinnis. Kirsten, how are you?
I am doing so well, Rob. I'm so excited to be here. You actually are insured largely from being a dummy because you're not on an island, so it's fine.
Long Island. Does that count?
But you're not there currently. If you were currently on Long Island, then I might call you a dummy.
More than a few hot dummies on Long Island, from what I understand.
That's what I've heard.
Yes. Okay. All right. So, Kirsten, what piece of lore did you want to talk about?
Okay, so it was really difficult to think of something to bring up here, not because there's not a million examples, but I think that the barrier going from fan of the podcast to part of the actual podcast, it's just different categories of memory, right? And so I want to talk about from before I was ever on any podcast routinely, when I used to call into the Facebook Fridays all the time. We used to have a weekly phone date, Rob, and now we never talk. What the heck?
Okay. Well, hey, look, I'm still taking calls on Fridays with the patrons, Kirsten. So, all right. So let's go back to that era where, when I first started the Patreon back in January of 2014, we were doing a monthly call-in show. And that was a big, it would go on for hours. And that was fun, but I love to take calls and I never know what's going to happen. I love the unpredictability of it. It's an adrenaline rush for me of I don't know who's going to call in, what they're going to have to say, what they want to talk about. So I love the back and forth with the community. And so this was in the time, especially when I was on the West Coast, that it was a decent time for Nicole used to go work Friday nights. All right, let me jump on and check in with the patrons around 4:00 on Friday before Nicole went to work. And then I would watch the kids when she went to work. And that was 4:00 for me on the West Coast, but it was happy hour somewhere for a lot of people.
Listen, it's 5:00 somewhere all the time. And so it was kind of the patron cast happened and it would always be so long because the whole thing was you would never leave anybody waiting on hold, which is just incredible customer service, truly. And then it was
I still don't think I ever have.
I know. And that's the thing, because I feel you went to Facebook Friday to be I should be able now. I won't take all the calls. It'll be an hour and then we're done. And then it just became that you then had like 4 patron casts a month plus sometimes an even longer one. And I have so many memories of like sitting in a group chat. We're all listening to the call together. We're talking about what's going on. We're like, oh, who's going to call in? Are you going to call in? That kind of situation. And I think one of the funniest calls that you ever did, it was actually on a patron cast, but it was like right, things were shifting into the Facebook Friday.
Yeah.
Was when we found out as a community, as a Big Brother community, about a certain early boot of Big Brother 18 and their burner Twitter account.
Yes.
When burner Twitters were not nearly a thing at such a time.
So I'm trying to remember what year this must have been, because it must have been like recently enough that we remembered who the original Joseph Rodriguez was.
I think it must have been. At the latest, it was 2017. It might have been 2016.
Yeah, I think that because Big Brother's always 2 years behind. Like, so when it's BB 18, BB it's 2016.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, it was. I remember this actually. Yes, because I was at my parents' house visiting them, and it was right before I was going for casting finals of Big Brother Canada 6 in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So it had to have been, or no, Big Brother Canada 5 casting finals. So it was 2016, and we're sitting on the call and you are getting informed on who Joey Rodriguez is, whose main modus operandi is being in the comments of other Big Brother contestants saying, you and Glenn should totally hook up.
Oh, you know,
Exclamation point,
I had forgotten that his name is Glenn and not Joseph Rodriguez. So Joey Rodriguez was his alt account.
Yes.
And Glenn was his regular account.
Yes. It's like Glenn Garcia.
Glenn Garcia
is his real name. He's of course on the Team Freakazoids on BB18.
Team Freakazoids.
And he just thought people should, I think it was Natalie specifically, like you and Glenn should totally hook up.
So I think a lot of the lore around that was that he was talking about like he should play again. He should be like back on the show, that he kind of got a raw deal, and that he like, I definitely would want, like, it was a lot of like, boy, I definitely want to see Glenn play again on another season. But then like, I guess, which is like, okay, that's just like the narcissist, like insane part of it. But then the part that was really probably not cool was that then there was Joseph Rodriguez was commenting on pictures of Glenn with his castmates saying, you two should totally hook up.
That, and he was like commenting on pictures with Paul and Victor, being like, you guys should hang out with Glenn all the time.
Yeah.
Victor and Glenn should be on The Amazing Race. And it was really easily sussed out because the formatting of the tweets with the space, exclamation point was also how Glenn would post on his regular account.
Kirsten should be in forensics.
Well, I mean, I wasn't the one who broke the case. I just found out about it early. If mess magnets had existed in 2016, Sasha and I would have been all over Joey Rodriguez / Glenn Garcia.
He also did something right where he like there was a blow up doll that got like flown like into the backyard with a drone. And everybody's like, what the hell was that? And then I feel like that he admitted that was him who did that.
Now, this is not ringing a bell with me, but it's probably true, and it's just something that my brain is protecting me from personally.
Yeah. I also remember of him when Eric Stein started these Summer of Stein with me, and I'm not sure. I think that might have been 2018. He talked about how he remembers seeing Glenn brought a salad to a movie theater.
Okay, I have respect for that. Sneaking stuff into a movie theater is a fun competition with yourself. And a salad is an insane thing to bring. That's
what I'm saying. I'm a salad guy. I've had my fair share of salads, but not at the movie theater.
I was talking about sneaking stuff into the movie theater recently with people, and someone said they brought in like a Buddha bowl with like it has like a ton of sauce and stuff in it, and they got out of the theater and they were
covered in sauce
because it's so dark. I could see that happening to Glenn.
Yeah, I feel like the Facebook Friday, there was a lot of like people like sharing things with me that I may not have known previously. I'm learning a lot of things.
And I think that that's a fun niche just of RHAP is when people can teach you something new. Like there's many such examples with the great Bryce Isaiah and the patrons getting in to do some education with you is always fun. What's your favorite thing you've learned from the patrons, Rob?
Oh, I mean, I feel like I've learned so many things like in the podcast, but I feel like that when people are like, hey, Rob, did you hear about blah, blah, blah? Like when people are like giving me breaking news that I may not have known about, that's really just very fun for me because I don't know what people are going to say. We're not screening the calls.
Do you ever think you should?
I really don't. We've never had like an incident, and I've taken like hundreds of calls from people like through all sorts of different formats. I don't think there was ever a time when I had to, I think there was one. There was one time, I think that this was in 2020, and I was doing a podcast with Chantel, and we were doing like a Survivor call-in show. And I think that somebody put something inappropriate on the screen. I think it's happened like one time in, hundreds and hundreds of calls. But like I've never had where anybody comes on and then just starts like shouting crazy stuff. Once in a while, you have somebody who's like a little like, all right, that's your opinion on something. But almost to like a person, it's amazing. Like 99.99% of the calls, like everybody has been wonderful.
No, well, and that's a testament to you, the community you've built, the content you create, that in 15 years, people just have respect for you, respect for what you're doing, and they want to be part of this positive thing. And I think because you provide this kind of positive attention, it doesn't incentivize people to go seeking the negative and attention too much, which is really wonderful.
Yeah, I appreciate how you put that. I love where people can feel like they're part of the show. Like I love for RHAP for people to feel of it. Okay, we're talking about a reality show, but like this whole thing is a reality show. And then sometimes people like pop on and they're in the show. They're characters in the show. And I love it when people call in on the call-in shows and are eccentric and like kind of like become characters that people look forward to hearing from. It's not just that people are calling in with their questions. It's that people are also watching the call-in shows because the callers are entertaining, or I don't know what they're going to say.
Well, and so many people who call into these shows have ended up actually on reality TV as well. Notably, Baby Andy just this past
I think you're talking about you.
I wasn't ever on a show.
You were on a show, and I'll never forgive them for not putting you in the show.
It's so funny because the only people who still get like actually a little worked up are you and my aunties. And they're like, I'll never watch Big Brother again. I'm like, well, you could watch the American one. Like
I just thought, what was so great about those other people? They said, okay, they're definitely in, but this person, I don't know. We'll put she could fight for it.
It's okay. I think my life is better off that I didn't go through the drama of playing Big Brother. It's fine. But like I was gonna say, Baby Andy, look at him. Look at his growth. I was there. I was there when he became Baby Andy. I get to be part of that lore just because I've been on the podcast with you.
That's lore of its own. But I mean that Andy was somebody who used to call into a million of the, Facebook Fridays and patron cast. I mean, there's probably, I don't know, like 20 hours of me talking to Andy on these calls before he was ever, a glimmer in Survivor's eye.
And there are many such cases. Like, it's just really, I think it's beautiful. I think it's wonderful. And so many people just get the opportunity to connect with you and talk to you on another level above just like the there's like the parasocial of listening to a podcast, and then there's the next level of actually getting to be there with you that I think is a big part of what makes RHAP so special.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And I think that the thing that, I try to think about a lot is, the podcast is fine. I work hard on the podcast. I'm happy when people say that they enjoy it. But I think that the part of this that nobody can ever rip off and nobody can ever, try to, replicate, or AI can't create, is the part about the community and bringing people together and giving people a place to feel like that they can talk about these things. And I think that that is the thing that we are trying to foster the most. And I think that that's ultimately the secret sauce of this whole thing, more so than anything that I do as a podcaster.
I agree completely. Because that's the thing, like the podcasts are great, but they kind of podcast about an episode of a show or of a current event kind of expires at a certain point. Mm-hmm. But the feeling that people had when they're listening and getting to be part of it does not expire.
Yeah. All right, Kirsten, this was great to go back over all of these this lore around the Facebook Fridays and the Patron cast. Where can people keep up with what you're doing?
They can listen to Mess Magnets every week with myself and Sasha Joseph talking about pop culture, celebrity gossip, and trending topics. And from time to time, there is a show about hot dummies on islands, and where those shows are airing, I will be there on the Hot Dummies on Islands podcast feed. And I'm everywhere except Twitter at Kirsten Said What.
Okay. Kirsten, thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, we've got another great moment to talk about here. Of course, we have our chief Big Brother correspondent here with us, the great Taryn Armstrong. Taryn, how are you?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here, Rob.
Yes.
15 years.
15 years, and we're discussing so much of the lore, and we're going to talk about some things that were, very near and dear to your heart. Big Brother finale, specifically, some of the visits to the backyard of the Big Brother house.
Yes.
A place you know well.
I know very well, both on the screen and now also in person.
Yeah. And the Big Brother backyard interviews, I feel like was a staple of the show. I'm not sure at what point they started doing them, but I thought they had interviews from the backyard, and then they would stream them. People would, watch them. It was kind of like an event for a while. And I first got invited to go to the backyard, I believe in Big Brother 18, I believe was the first season that I got to go to the backyard and get to set up shop and interview some of the house guests coming out of the house.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember watching you interview Paul, and even in that interview, hearing some of the responses that they had to the questions about strategy, and then seeing in the following season, like them having not learned those lessons that they were being asked about.
Right. Paul, I was there for both of Paul's losses. He wore the same shirt. I wore different clothes in the different times that I was there. But Taryn, it was in Big Brother 19 was a night that I got to go to the backyard, and ends up being one of the most well-known moments in my career.
Yeah. The top two most viewed videos on the RHAP channel are the Big Brother 19 finale backyard interviews and the Big Brother 21 finale backyard interviews. But the number one over the number two is Big Brother 19, and I think it's primarily due to one particular interview.
Yeah, and I really have enjoyed in my podcasting career, and the thing that we get to do on Big Brother, sometimes we know a little bit more than the people know who have just come out of the house, especially these people who were in the house the whole time, and we get to talk to them in the backyard, and so maybe they are not tapped into everything that we know. And my interview with Raven Walton was one that really ended up being somewhat viral at the time, and a well-known moment in the history of RHAP.
Yeah, and just to set this up a little bit, Raven on the show, the fans at the time were very sort of exasperated with the many claims that she was making throughout the season, many of which people thought were either exaggerated or just completely made up. On top of that, she, was a very not very well liked in terms of her behavior. And she also really felt like she had been the puppet master of the season.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of sort of she was not the most popular person.
Just as an aside, Taryn, I kind of feel like that this was a trope of Big Brother of there being a woman on the show who had a lot of tall tales that the live feed people would start to get exasperated with all of their stories, whether it was Victoria in Big Brother 16 or Danielle in Big Brother 14. I feel like we don't really have this character so much on the live feeds.
Not anymore, I wonder how much of that is sort of the proliferation of social media. And people just sort of being more media savvy in general. They're less likely to, because I think if you grow up in a small town or with a smaller pool of people, it's a lot easier to just kind of feel these are the things that I have or that I do, and people just believe that. But when you open yourself up to a much wider audience, they're like, that's not a real thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, we do have a clip here of me getting the chance to talk to Raven. So let's just listen in here for a minute of me talking with Raven in the Big Brother 19 backyard. Everybody, we are here with Raven.
Hello.
Raven, first off, how are you?
I am great. It was an awesome finale, very intense.
Yes.
It's good to be back in the real world. It's a bit crazy, culture shock, but I'm excited to see what comes after this. So
Yes.
I'm here.
Okay. First, that I know all of the people that listen to the podcast and watch the video, they have a lot of concerns and questions. Could you just give us an update on everything, how you're doing?
Concerns?
Yes.
I'm doing fine. I mean,
Because you went through the ringer with, I know about the gastroparesis, but you have the rough knee syndrome, everything from inverted spine this season.
I know. I have a lot wrong with me. I am fine. I deal with it just fine. Adversity makes you better. I mean, yeah, I have rare disease, and I have a stomach pacemaker, and I have a lot of different things that are wrong with me, but I don't let it keep me down.
I don't use that word. There's nothing wrong with you, Raven.
Thank you.
There's nothing wrong with her. There are things that are not working as they should right now.
Yeah, my body doesn't work sometimes, and so I deal with it.
Yeah, she deals with it. So, yeah, Raven was a sport.
Yes. This is, I think, the less famous one. We'll watch the more famous one in a second, but this one is my favorite one. The Rob looking at the camera and saying, "There's nothing wrong with her."
Yeah, look, Taryn, that Raven is just an angel on this earth. I wish we had more Raven in our lives.
Truly, and that is the thing too. For as much as I think you were having fun, and some people may disagree with this, but it never felt like you were trying to be mean. More so that you were just playing with the fact that there were some inside jokes that would make this interview a lot more funny to the people who knew what you were talking about.
I mean, really, I know that some people say oh, this is mean-spirited, but I mean, really, I feel like that when I'm having the most fun is when I'm having a joke with the audience at home, and we're laughing about something that there's some shared knowledge that we have, and it makes a fun moment, and that's exactly, I think, what's going on here. And we have another clip from later on in my conversation with Raven, who famously was, Paul had all of his duos in the house. They were all doing his bidding. And I'm not sure exactly what the genesis of this question was. I think I might have crowdsourced a little bit about what questions do you want me to ask? And there was a little bit about Paul running a cult in the house. And so that's where I got the idea to ask Raven this question. Podrick Racer wants to know, what was your favorite flavor of Kool-Aid that Paul made in the house, and was it good?
Oh, it was a cherry flavor.
Yeah.
It was delicious. Anything Paul makes, honestly, is good. I can see why last season they thought he was an undercover chef, because he's an amazing cook. Friendship toast.
What about your cooking? Matt said that he likes it more than cereal. I feel like this is getting serious, right?
You can see the moment of oh wow, she's taking this seriously on your face.
Yeah, what was your favorite flavor of Kool-Aid that Paul made in the house? And she went like right into it. Cherry, yes. I mean, look, Taryn, we never found out, did Paul make Kool-Aid in the house? Who knows?
I don't even think
Who knows?
so.
But yes, she went right into it. Everything Paul makes is great. Is just like, Raven is a yes and kind of gal.
It was the perfect answer, and it was truly one of those moments where you, I think, recognized that it was the perfect answer in the moment, and just because part of what makes this interview work so much is that you are keeping a very straight face for most of it, but this is a moment where you just crack, and you're just.
I could a little disbelief, and so I recently, though, Taryn, that I had a conversation with Dr. Will, who was there that night. And he called me out because he said he had a big problem with me about this because he said that the incident that I was referencing, the Jim Jones situation, he said was Flavor Aid, not Kool-Aid.
Is that even true? I don't even.
I don't know. I didn't fact check Dr. Will.
I don't believe anything Dr. Will says.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair enough. Okay. So yeah, that was a huge, viral moment. People were sharing that on Twitter at the time, and people really loved those moments with Raven. But 2 years later, Taryn, I had the chance to return to the Big Brother backyard, and this time I had company with me. You joined me in the Big Brother backyard, and we had the chance to talk to all of the greats from Big Brother 21.
Yeah, this was such an awesome experience. We managed to sort of like get in there right before they stopped doing it. So I'm really glad that I had this opportunity. And it was very cool to be there. It was very cool to be there with you.
Right, because this is 2019. And so then the next year is going to be, we know what's coming. And I don't think they've done the Big Brother backyard interviews like this. And if they do, it's like with a very small crew. But yeah, we got in. I remember it was hot back there.
Yep. And you could sort of like wander around at the set with the questions still being asked. Dr. Will was there again as well. I met him, and he didn't lecture me on Jim Jones, but
yeah, okay. But we had the chance to talk to one of the other greats, Annalise, aka Sis, and we got to ask her a question about vocabulary.
Is there like an adjective that you would use to describe Jack?
Oh my God.
Your look to the camera.
Yes, but I can't think about it at the top of my head.
Did something come to mind?
I can't talk about it. We all know that I don't know what an adjective or a verb is, but I know what a noun is, I swear.
All right, well, can you give us a noun to describe Jack?
Well, noun is a person, place, or a thing. So to describe Jack as a noun, it would be, I don't know.
I mean, he's a big guy.
Well, yeah, I was going to say tall, but that's right?
Tall would be a noun to describe Jack. Yeah.
Oh my God. But let's be real. Come on. Like after third grade, do they really ask you what an adjective and a verb is? No.
I mean, it hardly ever comes up.
Exactly. So I know I'm not the only person out there who doesn't. Thank you. I'm not the only person out there who doesn't remember.
Derek just outed himself.
Thank you. Hey, Kat herself said she didn't know either, okay? So I'm not the only one, I swear. I'm really smart, I promise. I graduated college with a public health degree. If I wasn't smart, I wouldn't have made it through college, and I did, so I swear I'm smart, people.
How are you holding up, out?
Okay.
like that was straight from like a sitcom. Like
she was great TV, Sis.
I couldn't because like basically I think part of what we were asking was like she had talked a lot about how big Jack was, and so we were just like, yeah, like what's an adjective you'd use to describe Jack, and like sort of setting her up for a joke, but then. And so I thought she was thinking about like different adjectives, and then she came out and she's like, no, I don't actually know what an adjective is. And I was like, oh, okay. And then you were right on it with like, okay, can we get a noun?
Yeah.
And then ultimately she came up with tall.
Yeah, and I said
Which
that's a noun. I hope that I was just messing with her because tall is not a noun.
No, that,
Unless
I
he is
that
a
was
tall.
what you were doing.
I hope so. I hope so. I don't know. It was 7 years ago.
I think she recognized in the moment that, oh, wait a minute, tall
5
is
years
not
ago. Yeah, but
like this was just so funny to me because of just like how it spiraled, and like I totally like I can empathize with her in that moment, like when you're on the spot and all of a sudden you're starting to spiral. But it was just it was so funny, and it also again perfectly fit her character on the show, and just was such a fun moment.
Taryn, could you give us an adjective to describe RHAP?
Really, really tall.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Well, these were so fun. Imagine one day if we get the chance to do it again.
It would be great. You know, it's really a special time when Big Brother players are fresh out of the house.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed. Maybe one day we'll get to do it again. All right, Taryn, where can people keep up with you?
Find me over on Twitch, hanging out, watching things, playing games, talking about Big Brother. And then also over on We Know Scripted TV, which is the scripted portion of this podcast, or where we talk about scripted things at least. Not that we script our podcast, although, do we?
Hey.
We talk about new shows, all the things that are happening, new movies, what you should watch, news, cool stuff like that.
All right. Well, Taryn, so much fun to go down and talk about some of this stuff, and talk to you soon, okay?
And thank you.
Bye. So excited to get to talk some RHAP lore here with the baby boy. Here he is, the host of the Purple Pants podcast, Bryce Isaiah. Bryce, how are you?
Robert, I'm feeling 15 years younger. I'm feeling 15 minutes great. I'm feeling, like I'm 15.
Yes,
again.
15 again. Okay, yes. It's the big RHAP quinceañera. So happy that you could be here for it. And so, Bryce, what's on your mind? What's the piece of lore that you wanted to talk about?
Well, Robert, there's so many that we could pick from. Like, we could do the international cream debacle.
Sure.
We could go there. We could go.
Was it a debacle?
I mean, it was. Some people call it stealing. Some people call it borrowing. I call it community give back.
Yeah.
There's been a raccoon that was by my car at one point in time.
Yeah, I remember.
Looked like Wendell a little bit. There is the cone situation of my job. I mean, it's a lot that we can get into. However, I think one of the things that bonds me to you is that back in the day, when they used to be the feedback show, and if you are OG member of the OG, you remember the feedback show used to be attached to the main podcast, and you used to have to wait 5 hours to get to the feedback show. Y'all know where I'm going with that. And at that point in time, I used to do the loved ones visit when there was a loved ones visit. RIP to the loved ones. Now we get letters, and I believe it was David versus Goliath, and it was a cold, sunny, dark day in Philadelphia. And I was sitting on my couch, and they started calling these loved ones out. I mean, we did get a "Where is Davy?" that episode. But for me, I believe it was a cheetah print skirt. She almost tripped, but she didn't. She caught herself. And Christian Ubicki, and I always say his name wrong, but I say it wrong on purpose. He let out
it.
Oh, I said it right?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Thank you. And Christian, now I don't even want to say his last name because I'm going to jinx myself, but Christian said a name. And I feel like it's a name that has gone down in RHAP history. I believe he said the name Emily!
No, I don't think he said it like that. You said it like that.
Oh, sorry. My story. Got my story confused.
Yeah.
He said Emily, and I said Emily.
Yeah.
And I was enamored, in love by Emily.
Can I add to your story? Add to your lore? Because I want to go back one season earlier.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
You're talking about Survivor 37. But of course, Bryce and I would always talk about the loved ones visit when they had one. And I think the one that really got the ball rolling was one season earlier in the spring of 2017 when a young man named Donathan got a visit from his aunt.
Patty! I forgot. Oh my God, Robert.
And I think you started that on Patty, and then Emily, and Emily. We turned out that there were a lot more Emilys in our future and in the RHAP community that we would say Emily a lot more. Not so many Patties.
Patty!
Aunt Patty.
I forgot about Aunt Patty. The disrespect, Robert. Oh my God. Whew. Patty. Oh my God. Wait, I wonder how Aunt Patty is doing.
I think I mean, I'm assuming good.
I'm gonna have to text Donna to see how Aunt Patty is doing. I forgot all about
Aunt Patty is a queen. You said
yes. She paved the way. There would be no Emily without a Patty. That just, when I say took me for a loop, that took me for a loop. But I still have to say, for me, maybe because I never got to meet Aunt Patty, and I just seen her on the screen. But for me, I got to meet Emily, and I almost felt so bad because it was at the RHAP New Orleans show, and a lot was happening. But I met Emily, and I was so nervous because I was like, oh my God, there's Emily. And she was as equally excited to meet me. And she was like, do you recognize? And I'm like, girl, I don't know what you want me to recognize. And she's like, I got the pants on for you. And I was like, ah. So I just, and then I was like, well, girl, what did you watch on the plane ride home? And she was giving me what they watched on the plane to New Orleans. So it was just, for me, Emily lives forever in my head.
Emily.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember also then, it was probably around this time that also I have
Dora.
Who was the first daughter?
Was it Elaine? It couldn't have been Elaine.
I think it was from before that. I'm not sure. But yeah, the loved ones visit, like at that period in time that you'd find one person. It was Patty, and then it was Emily, and then season 38. Remember, it was Rock. Remember Rock?
Oh, I remember Rock.
Victoria's dad.
Oh, listen, I mean, I had shirts made. Okay. Listen, and that's when they didn't know how that. I want to say Victoria blocked me. She didn't know. That's like the story of Victoria and I, because she didn't understand. She blocked me. And I was like, girl, I'm just trying to be your stepmother. I'm not trying to disrespect.
You got Rock blocked.
I got Rock blocked. Then, weirdly enough, the War Dog was able to mend that bridge. And I had these shirts. I made these shirts, and I gave them to Victoria, and she said her dad loved them. So, sometimes people don't understand the love that the baby boy gives. I also remember a situation with a ladder, but it's a lot that goes on.
Sometimes, yeah. And then I don't, that honestly, like 39 is a weird season. I don't remember a lot from the loved ones visit there. And I will say though, then season 40, Winners at War, the last big loved one season that they did, I do remember you throwing out the offer to be the Manny for Kim Spradlin Wolf.
And the offer still stands if they need to be picked up from school. And
Travis.
Okay. The offer still stands, Kim. And I remember Kim reached out to me, which again, when these people, I'm like, hi, Kim. And she's like, we saw it was so funny. But I'm like, no, girl, I'm serious. Where can I send my resume? I got references. That was a big one. But I also feel like, I believe it might have been Edge of Extinction. We gotta Underwood.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know if I could. Okay, you see, my phone is telling me it's Underwood. I don't know if we could really talk about where that Underwood came from, but I just remember it was one of those action-packed scenes. And that is when Chris became my window pick because
you were on the edge.
I don't know if I was on the head. I don't know. I don't know if I was on the edge.
Yeah,
I might have been, but yeah. So Robert, you bring out the silly in me, and if it's one thing you could count on me doing, is screaming somebody's name, whether y'all love it or hate it, because you know I get a lot in the comments. Bryce is too loud. He's annoying. Sorry. What you want me to do? Blame Robert.
Well, I've always loved getting to podcast with you, and I feel like that from the first times that we started getting to podcast back in San Juan del Sur after your season, that I just felt like that you were able to talk about the episodes in a way that nobody else I don't think still is able to.
I mean, I wouldn't disagree. I think that you have some amazing people. I think another lore back in the day, come on with my OG RHAP years. I remember when we used to podcast and then you'd be like, okay, give me 3 things to name the title. And I'd be like, Honey Bear Pop. Or like, do you remember that? Where you'd be like, what's the hashtag? I'd be like,
the hashtag, yeah.
Queen Bee Honey C. You'll be like, wait, how does that connect? I'm like, it don't matter, Rob. It's connected. Do it.
Yeah.
So it's still hard to believe 15 years. I'm still confused because I was
well, you were,
very
you were very young when we first started the podcast.
I was the youngest to ever be on Survivor. I was still in elementary school, but it is just amazing to see how much it has grown, seeing the personalities and still being here, being able to talk to you, being able to scream somebody's name. It is truly a blessing. And I can't thank you enough, Robert, for creating this, for giving me a platform, and for allowing me to be myself, Robert. I think that people don't talk about that enough. I think sometimes, Robert gets on here and Robert is amazing. Robert does his thing. But you create a safe space. I don't always show up like this in my normal life in places where I just feel very uncomfortable sometimes. And I'm just like hi, hello, how are you? But you've always seen me. I felt seen by you. And I felt like, you know what? I could cut up a little bit with Robert. And I think that truly is our magic and your magic with so many other people that, Robert, Robert is Robert. Okay. He a very particular type of way. I think Nicole would agree with me, but you lend this spirit and this generosity and just makes this place so comfortable. So I just can't thank you enough. And I hope when I turn 27 in another 15 years, we'll be here to chat and talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate what you're saying, Bryce. And I just, have always just been such a big fan of your comic timing, and you're just so fun, and it's just so effortless for me to be able to just like just set you up to let you be you, and you just take whatever I'm serving you up and then just run with it in the most amazing way.
You serve it up, Robert, I'ma always run, okay? I'm going to run the mile. So, yeah, I look forward to creating some more memories. And I know we got a new season ahead of us. So,
yeah. Okay.
I'm dying to get into those people.
And, of course, there's plenty of more Bryce to listen to when you're listening to the Purple Pants podcast, available wherever fine podcasts are found. Bryce, what else is coming up for you?
Yes, well, Survivor is around the corner, so we're going to have Survivor news. We're going to be doing some preseason coverage. Amazing Race is around the corner, so you can catch my pit stop coverage with the winner of Amazing Race Season 28, Brooke Camhigh, my casual tea with Amon Adwin, where we're talking all things current events. Jelinski, the best first boot ever, and I are doing play-by-play, where we are covering the salacious and very interesting topics of sports. My mom, Barb's message is always going to deliver us a positive message when we need it. I also have my Purple Pants Premonitions, where we have a tarot card every month, and we're going to give you the spiritual forecast. And of course, I'm covering other shows. I'm getting ready to start binging with Bryce, where, you know, during the off season, or just you don't have time to watch when it's on, but when you watch it, you can watch it. You can count on me to have that covered for you. So come on to the Purple Pants Podcast and get your life and get some Emily.
Yeah,
whatever
and
you need.
make some time for another water cooler talk with me.
Robert, I was thinking about that today at work, and I was like, you
Mm-hmm.
know what? I can't have all these water cooler conversations be about work, but they won't be about work because, listen, schedule it.
And I seen the Bryce and Wendell tour schedule. Chances are Bryce is coming to your city sometime soon.
Yes, the BWP Tour 48 has been announced. We are going to 9 cities, a city near you. The tickets are available. You can click the link in the Bryce and Wen Present Instagram bio or my Instagram bio, and we will see you on the road. I'm more excited for the RHAP live event because Boston is my home, so you will see me there as well.
All right. Well, baby boy, thanks for everything, and I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Robert!